From Insight to Impact, UX Secrets Revealed is a podcast by Testing Time. For our second episode, I met with Karla Fernandes, who is a digital product designer, educator, and vibe coding expert. Karla, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to your beautiful home. Some mate and some vegan lemon cake that was delicious. We met many years ago at a design event. I think it was Hatch Conference or one of the events that were associated with it, or not?
Yes, it was Hatch. It was 2023. Oh, wow. Time passes by, right?
It does. It flies.
It really flies. And at the time, we were really thinking about how AI was changing everything, discussing the rise of it, and we were just really observing the trend. Since then, I have moved from watching everything that was helping to build, right? And I have developed a framework to use over again, on and on again, and I call that one loop.
That's super exciting. For our listeners out there, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your journey in UX, UI, and product building?
Sure. My journey has always been about being a bridge. I have been a bridge between design and development, a bridge in between a customer and other customers. And I started my career as a graphic designer, but early on, I really realized that people did not really want to hire a designer. They were really interested in hiring someone that could build them a product. They were interested in the final product. And because of that, I really learned CMS development, programming, because I want to give them the finished product. Over the years, I have delivered more than 300 client projects. It sounds like a lot, right? But 25 years, that's the number, right? It is possible. I have lived in 11 countries, have so much fun, like in Germany, like in Berlin, where you live and where we met, now living in Switzerland. And the biggest shift came when I realized that being a team of one isn't about doing everything yourself. Today, it's really about using the right leverage. Now I combine this 25 years of experience in design and product building to help other designers to build and ship digital products without getting stuck in complexity and using AI where it matters most.
That's exciting. I feel like we could already talk probably for 2 hours just about your career in itself. You said over 300 client projects. That's impressive. And I know you've built and shipped over 20 apps as well, as you describe it, a team of one. What shifted in your decision-making when AI entered the workflow?
So early in my career, shipping an app like I did over 20 times really meant months of coding. Then no-code platforms came, it made possible for you to develop websites with no-code. And 4 years ago, when I entered to this world, I was able to make live apps for iOS and Android using no-code, zero code. And no-code really removed many technical barriers. But now AI has moved almost all of them, which is incredible. So my constraint is really no longer execution. It is intent. I spend about 80% of my time in discovery and validation. I think those two are really crucial steps where testing is the essential to confirm real user need, and AI helps me stress test assumptions. We are no longer just builders of features, right? We are architects of systems right now. Use AI to absorb the noise of production so I can really stay ruthless about shipping only what creates real value. Actually, there is so much that can be done today without value that you really have to focus on delivering value.
That's true. I think AI has been undoubtedly incredible disruptor the last couple of years. I feel like especially at the design events, it's so present. It's sometimes all encompassing. For listeners who are maybe unfamiliar with the term, how would you define the wording vibe coding?
That's a great question, Aileen. To me, vibe coding means shifting from writing code yourself to directing an AI using natural language, typed or spoken, to generate, refine, debug functional code that you do yourself otherwise. Instead of placing every pixel or writing the code yourself, you describe the intent, the outcome you want, the vibe. The AI produces for you the first version. It is really a powerful mindset for starting, but it is really risky philosophy for finishing. Turning something built through vibe coding to a product people can actually use means moving beyond the chat box into a real process. You test it with real users, break it, and refine it. It is the difference between having a mood board and a business.
I think you said something really nice there. You said it's a powerful mindset for starting, but it's a risky philosophy for finishing. Where does vibe coding fit in within the UX process, from idea to prototype to launch, and what stages does it really help to accelerate?
So what I use is a simple framework to make sense of all of this. It's a cycle, or a loop if you want to say. So it's really design, build, and ship. One loop, a single loop. Here's how vibe code fits in this loop. In the design phase, it's about validation. Instead of spending days on wireframes, you can generate 3 or 4 versions in 1 hour. You put them in front of the users right away. You see which one actually solves their problem before you get attached to the direction, right? Like this happens so much in design, like countless times. AI also helps you explore options you might not have considered. That's a really great place for you to start brainstorming. And then you come to the build phase. That's really about prototyping. This is where vibe coding really shines. You can create prototypes that feel real enough to test with actual users. You stop guessing. You start watching people move through a working experience. You can also build demos, make it easy to get stakeholder buy-in. You can really get the product running in front of others. And then comes the ship phase, that is really about decision making. This is the part most people miss. Vibe-coded prototypes are not the final product. Really, I will repeat. Vibe-coded prototypes are not the final product. They are decision tools. I see many people investing a lot of time to reach 80% and then get stuck because they can't ship. Either because they don't know code, they don't know how to do AI to do exactly what they need, or because the process is kind of broken there in the middle. The real value isn't in the code AI generated. It is what you learn from users while they interact with it. That learning really tells you what's actually worth building for real, whether with a stronger AI system, with no-code tools, or engineering team that a lot of companies still have and you always have, right?
I think you've already touched on a couple of really interesting items here, but what pitfalls do you think designers should watch out for if they're using no-code apps or vibe coding to build their own prototypes?
So the biggest pitfall is really falling in love with speed, which is hard to not, right? When it becomes this easy to build, because it is already so easy to build, it really becomes very easy to build the wrong thing. I see 3 main traps designers fall into. The first one is feature waste. So because AI can generate these features in seconds, designers are starting to add things just because they can. And that, of course, creates a lot of noise instead of value. And you end up with a complex product that solves a problem no one actually has, right?
We don't want to get into that.
You really don't want. And the second one is really the finished illusion, which is also very easy to get, right? Like if you have vibe coded the product yourself, you really feel that a prototype can feel like a real app very, very quickly. And the danger is thinking that because it looks finished, the thinking is finished. And you can skip the hard work of testing because you have already become attached to the polished version. So you have all that beautiful thing, but you haven't tested and it looks so good. Why not? Right? So this is really the second problem. And the third one, which I think is also crucial and why a lot of people were so asking themselves, is AI replacing me? Am I losing my job and everything? It's because you can lose the human in the loop, right? Is the third one. Is AI can follow instructions, but it doesn't have empathy. Come on, it really doesn't have empathy. It doesn't feel the user frustration, doesn't understand the real motivations behind it. If you let the tool drive the design, you lose the human in the loop. And in my experience, the tool is never the problem. Mm-hmm. The lack of finish line, really where should I stop, is without this process, you just create a faster confusion instead of a real product. That's what I think.
I like how you said, because it looks finished, people think that it actually is finished. When you can get to a prototype so fast, where really does user research and testing with real humans come in?
Okay, so let's get back. This speed here is only a benefit if you are moving in the right direction. And how do you move in the right direction? So since AI no-code can build prototype in hours, many people think they can skip research, and that's a huge mistake. In my process, I look at testing in 3 distinct phases. So before starting building, it's the validation phase. You test the idea before touching any tools. You make sure the problem is real. If you don't start with a validated need, you are just vibe coding your way into a product nobody wants. During, that is the building phase, this is where prototypes comes in, right? Because we can build so fast now, we can test real experiences, not just static screens anymore like we used to do. So now it's time for you to stop guessing and start observing how people actually move through the product. And after you finish the building phase and shipped, you must measure. So once you have shipped, testing doesn't stop. It's really, you get to measure the behavior you see, whether the product's delivering the value you promised, right? And you gather insights to keep improving it. You have those insights. You need those insights to keep improving it. Testing is what turns a vibe into a business. Mm-hmm. It gives you the clarity to know what you are shipping actually matters.
I know intuition is a core part of vibe coding or no-code app. I think especially if you are in the business for such a long time, you have a good feeling probably for certain designs or a direction it should go in. How do you think designers should balance intuition with structured user feedback? And how do you really avoid this design by assumption?
You are so right, Aileen. So I think intuition is a superpower for finding the vision. But testing is your insurance against your own ego. Intuition tells me where to go. It helps me spot a gap in the market or a vibe that feels right, but I don't trust intuition blindly. I use it to build the first version with AI quickly. And then I let users tell me if I was right. So it's really more than just my intuition, right? You have to get the testing right. You have to get users checking it and showing you through data what is right. So if my intuition says feature is cool, but data shows users are confused, the data wins every time. If your company doesn't allow data to win every time, there is something going wrong there, I'm sure.
That's true.
And for me, the balance is really simple. Use intuition to start the loop and use testing to close it.
Okay. Can you share an example where no-code app prototype has changed significantly after user research and testing?
Sure. Yes, I have a great example from the UX UI Hub app. You can download that on the App Store and Play Store. It's a no-code app built totally with no-code. And I built there a new feature to help designers connect with each other. During the validation and testing, networking kept coming up as a real need. So I designed this connected feature where users could create a profile, find other designers, so they could connect with each other. On paper, it made perfect sense, but there was a catch. There is always, right? As soon as you start to allow users to create their own profiles with names, pictures, bios, you need to add into it a login system, right? Because you're saving the user data. And that meant introducing this login part because this app didn't have it before. At the moment I launched this new feature, I saw the impact. In the first days, new user retention dropped. So that was the first time. Even existing users, so people that were already download the app, they really had to create accounts now because I made that mandatory. And then the app was less used out of the sudden. And I personally really hate mandatory logins. So this friction stood out to me straight away. I don't know how you are, but like if you download an app on the App Store and the first thing the app gives you is a login screen and you have never opened it.
I also don't like it. Very, very much the same, yeah.
Right? So I hated it, but I needed to add it. And how do I make something work here? So when I looked at this data and talked to the users, the message was really clear. The login wall was too early. I also hated it. And people wanted really to explore the app and see the value before committing, which is totally normal, like you just said yourself. Forcing the registration up front was blocking engagement. So I went back into the loop. I introduced the guest mode, which, of course, right now we're talking about it. It seems so logical and obvious, right? But at the point, it wasn't. And I tell you, there are a lot of apps on the App Store and Play Store that still think that this is not obvious. So I introduced this guest mode, and now anyone could explore the app freely. Only when they clicked on this connect feature that they had received this login screen saying like, okay, so for you to use this area, you have to log in or create your account. If they didn't want, they would just pursue the other parts and would be fine without having an account. So the result was immediate engagement climbed. Today, there are over 100 designers that are actively open to connect inside that one feature. And the lesson was simple. Just because no code and AI let you build complex systems, right, like this in a day, it doesn't mean that users want to navigate that complexity. Like it's about the users in the end. So sometimes the best design decision is getting out there, see what happens until the value is clear. So that way it worked. People got interested in connecting and then start to register themselves and create their profiles.
I think this is a really interesting example. I've been in that situation many times myself, even like on websites where I don't want to immediately give my data. And then I really appreciate having something like a guest login. How do you communicate the value of user research, or how would you convince others of user research and testing, especially to stakeholders who might be super excited about the speed and rapid prototyping and who might want to disregard that a little bit?
Yeah, I really love to explain that testing isn't a delay. It's a shortcut. And I really mean it. When you test a prototype early, you avoid spending time and money on features that you eventually be deleted. And I know you say like, which time and which money? Because now with AI, everything is so quick. It's still time and money involved there. And don't get me wrong, these tools are not super expensive, but they can really get expensive. And a lot of people don't think of it when they start. So I tell them this. Building a product that nobody uses, it is the slowest thing you can do.
I can imagine. Trying to fix holes.
Right? Speed without direction is really just waste. So usually when a stakeholder sees a real person is struggling with a fast prototype, they really realize that clarity is more valuable than just moving quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And sometimes even if you put them to try it out, right? Like I think that is a very good way to go with stakeholders here, because sometimes they think it's better to go quick, but if you put them into the testing phase and say like, okay, so let's get you test the real thing here. Yeah. And when they see they cannot, then you realize that they need more testing.
There's an issue here, yeah. I think especially like with building new products, and especially if we're very passionate about it, we often tend to have these blind spots or these biases just because we understand how something is working. Yeah, it doesn't mean that everybody else understands it as well, or just has maybe a different perspective on things. If we look forward into the future, how do you see vibe coding and user research and testing along with it? How do you see that evolving, especially with these AI tools making such rapid progress?
So I think they will become a single motion. In the future, we won't build a product and then test it. We will have a live prototypes that change in real time while our user is interacting with them, which would be the coolest of the things, right? Like the product fixes itself because the test is happening live. And AI will help us close the loop even faster. But as these tools get faster, the human in the loop becomes more important, not less. So you still can keep your job. You need more researchers, more designers to provide intent and ethics behind the code. So the faster the engine goes, the more you need a skilled driver. It's really about having the best people there, like the best human that can drive this forward.
I think the researchers and designers that are listening to this podcast will be very, very happy to hear that, especially as many people have feared about their job, and rightfully so, because, yeah, we don't know what the future will bring. But I like the phrase, the faster the engine goes, the more skilled drivers you actually need in bringing it forward and remaining safe as well. And as a very last question that I would like to ask you, for designers or founders who are just getting started with no-code app development, what advice do you have for them?
If you are just starting with AI-powered prototype, here are 3 things that I wish I had known when I published my first app. And this was first native app, right? Like 4 or 5 years ago. So the first is start with the problem, not the tool. I see a lot of people really thinking, oh, you build this with this, that. I'm not mentioning 2 names here, guys. But this is a huge mistake. It's really falling in love with AI can build instead of focusing on what actually users need. Before opening any AI tool, you should ask yourself, what problem am I solving? For whom? And how will I know if it works? Only then you should decide which tool to use, because then you have several tools for each of the parts, or for each problem you want to solve, you find a better specific tool to use. And if you can't answer this, there is no tool out there that will save you. The second one is really to adopt a finished method. And what I say by that is really that you don't need more tools. You need a process you can complete and especially repeat. So that's why I created this one loop. Design what you are building and why. Build something testable, really not perfect. Ship it to real users. It's one loop and one product, and it's done. And then you repeat. And most of people create endless prototypes and never ship, never get to actual users. You really should start shipping, because shipping beats perfect every single time. And third, you should start testing early, test often, and test cheap. You don't need a big budget. Do we, Eileen?
No, often we should.
So You really don't need a big budget. You need a fewer target users, a rough prototype, and the humility to change direction. Because that's the point, right? You are testing to see that you are wrong. And I tell you, being wrong is not fail. It is really getting it right in the long term. So you start testing in days, not in weeks. Watch behavior, not just opinions, not, are you use it? Are you not use it? And here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop asking, how fast can I build this? And start asking, how fast can I learn if this is worth building? AI gives you speed, testing gives you direction, and process gives you completion. If you want a concrete start point, take one idea, build a rough prototype in 2 days, test it with 5 real users on day 3, ship a refined version by day 7. It's just 1 week. It's 1 loop. It's 1 product. And that single week, you teach you more than 6 months of planning ever will.
End of that. Thank you so much, Karla. I think this was incredibly insightful. Yeah, I really hope that the listeners out there, even if it's a designer, if it's a researcher, or if it's an entrepreneur that's just starting out, that they have taken something valuable from your insights and from your 25 years of experience.
Me too, Eileen. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You're the best.